Quick introductions. To my left is Geeta Pine. She's the Chief Architect at TIAA. And let's see, what does she do in her free time? She's a rocket scientist. For those who don't know. Apart from that, she loves adventures and she's hiked Machu Picchu. Next to her is Madhuri. She's a VP of Product Strategy and Transformation at Fluence Energy, a Siemens company, and she leads strategic transformations there. She's also a traveler, and apparently she's using ChatGPT to plan her travels since the last year. Beside her is Leslie, the wonderful Leslie, always a smile on her face. She's the head of trend and innovation scouting at Nokia. And she's also the author of the book Interconnected Realities. And she's also been on Jeopardy 5 times. So we have celebrities.
5-time winner.
5-time winner? Oh, I'm sorry about that. 5-time winner. Why are you working a job? Last but not least, it's Prabhakar Jayade. He is Global Head of Data Management and Transformation at JK Tech. He has over 30 years of experience in data management, quantitative analysis, risk modeling, basically lives and swims in data. And when he's not doing that, apparently he bakes his own bread in an oven he built on his own. So, quick applause for the panel here, please. And to introduce myself, I'm the Director of AI Transformation at Zendesk. I look after all the non-product AI that's employee-facing and enterprise-facing. So for me, this is going to be educational as well. Okay, so let's jump into the discussion. I'm going to ask this question, and this is for all our panelists. If you could take a minute or two to answer. What does AI first mean for your organization? Let's start with Prabhakar.
I thought I was the last and the least. Yeah, so it's not only at JK Tech, it's not only about AI first. I think, or at least we think that AI literally is. Without AI, it's impossible. And what we mean by that is the primary vision that drives all our product platform and services is sort of creating a semantic layer. And by the way, we have talked about semantic layers for quite some time. So to build a semantic layer, and that semantic layer then hides just about every form of disparity in the data. Structured, unstructured, semi-structured makes no difference. Even pictures, right? Emails, web pages, it makes no difference. And then all your user queries are against the semantic layer, totally transparent to what lies underneath. And a practical implementation of this semantic layer is actually a knowledge graph. That's how we have done it. And the knowledge graph literally is what brings together and the reason I call it semantic layer is the discussion in a document, the data in a database, they are related. I come from financial services, so contract documents, every asset is a document. So they are related, and to be able to create and seamlessly ask a question that goes across. So that's the implementation. And by the way, when we do this, so when you do this semantic layer knowledge graph implementation of it, absolutely nothing in your day-to-day work or the data has been sort of disturbed. So daily operations are not disturbed. And that literally renders the old cliched phrase, all of you are like, CDOs, the old phrase, data is the new oil, right? Literally delivering that with this kind of a vision and implementation. So that's on the integration part of it. And I think Rishabh were talking about, what if the data is bad? So the second big implementation of this concept comes on the MDM side. And on the MDM side, the same knowledge graph that we talked about translates into ontology. I'm sure, all CDOs have heard the word ontology. Now the difference is, and I have been a part of, the object management group, actually it's become OMG now. The So I have built these ontologies. The problem with very pristine ontology coming from outside is if it doesn't reflect your data, it's meaningless. So the ontology we are talking about is actually your data scanned, translated into a knowledge graph that becomes an ontology. So the ontology actually represents every bit of data in your organization. And once you have everything in an ontology, then the ability to sort of run governance and everything. I mean, most of you have heard of Protege from Stanford and so on. So once you have it as an ontology, the ability to run cognitive classifiers on that ontology, understand where the ontology breaks, understand, and infer new knowledge, and use that to define declarative knowledge. So your data quality, data governance, business rules have now a centralized place to be, even if your data ownership is federated. And that literally is the sort of, the end of the vision of how an AI first or a Gen AI. And by the way, none of this is possible manually. We have all tried it for the last 30, 35 years. Absolutely impossible. So that's our take on AI first. Thank you. Go ahead, Leslie. What do you think?
Yeah, so I'm with Nokia. I've been with Nokia for 25 years. And before I talk about AI, I have to clarify what we do because we don't make phones anymore. We haven't for the last decade. We are a telecommunications supply company. In other words, we're a vendor for the telecommunications industry. We make literally the base stations, the hardware, the software, the fiber optic cables, the routers, the optics, all the things that go into a telecommunications network. And the phone companies of the world are our major customers. And so for us, AI, but we also, when we acquired Alcatel-Lucent in 2017, that came with it Bell Labs. So Bell Labs is now Nokia Bell Labs. And so AI has 3 levels within our organization. One is the employee productivity thing, coding copilots and everything. Great, fantastic, run with that, no problem. The next is actually incorporating AI into our external products. And there we have to be super careful. And I'll come back to that in a second. And then the third is actually using Bell Labs to determine what comes next. What's the next wave of AI? Now that we've got generative AI, what comes next? So watch this space because we're heavily into the future of AI as well as the future of quantum. And so the whole Bell Labs thing is really exciting and fabulous. But that middle layer, using AI for our external products, we actually have a challenge being in the telecommunications industry because we are super heavily regulated. And we're regulated on 2 major fronts. One is the telecommunications network needs to be available 99.99999% of the time so people can make emergency calls. And we have to be able to prove to regulators that our networks can be up all the time, which means we have to be very cautious about using AI for things like network operations. Because, especially when you're dealing with generative AI, it's less provable, it's less testable than other kinds of things. So we have to proceed with great caution and always being able to show to regulators how things are working. The other regulatory thing that we run into is data privacy, because the data that runs over the networks that we manage is not our data. It's your data. It's what you're doing on your phone. It's where you are physically located in the world so the network can find you. That is super hello. That is your data. And so we have to make sure that the data privacy is actually maintained all the time. And again, we can't unleash AI on that, willy-nilly because, one serious data breach and, it's all over. So for us, we can do AI first for greenfield things, but in our industry, almost everything is brownfield and limited by these regulations. So what we're doing is working with AI very cautiously, very provably, and actively using the research that we do to then influence the regulators in all the companies of the world. We're not just sitting back and letting them make decisions. We're bringing to them actively, here's what we're finding, here's what we've been able to do so far, so that we think that they will be able to make good regulatory decisions that will, oh, this doesn't work. Yeah. Oh, no, it's on. Oh, I don't know if you're glowing either. Anyway, that's the story as much as you were able to hear. So focus on proactively getting out there in front of the regulators so that our industry will be able to actually truly use AI in very creative ways that are a little bit kept away from us right now.
Thanks, Leslie. I'll move to a question just in the interest of time. Madhuri, how is your organization approaching building the strategy? Everything that Leslie and Prabhakar talked about looks like there's a lot of work to do. But what are you doing first, second, third? What are the steps?
Yeah. So Fluence Energy is in the business of providing power storage solutions. So it's massive battery installations that we do at the power plants that generate electricity. And we have 3 verticals as product offering to our customers. One is the hardware itself. These are massive batteries. They can weigh as much as 12 tons each, and there are several of those at each power plant. The second product we offer to our customers is servicing that equipment, and service contracts can go as long as 20 years, 25 years through the life of the equipment itself. And the third business we're in is the digital products that constantly capture data from these assets and run analytics to ensure these equipment never go down. Because guess what? When the equipment goes down at a power plant, there is no power. Every consumer gets impacted. So as she mentioned, energy industry is also very, very regulated. It's considered critical infrastructure, just like transportation or healthcare or food. So we have to ensure that whatever data we capture and wherever it may be stored, that it's done keeping security in mind. So the utility companies, the power plant owners and power plant operators are our customers. Fluence Energy is a Siemens company. So AI for strategy for us also is divided in 2 parts. One is how can we make our internal operations more effective using AI so we can become more efficient as an organization. And the second aspect is how can we deliver quick value to the customer using AI. As I mentioned, anytime a power generation or power storage or power transmission equipment goes down, there is direct impact to the customer. And that impact can be massive depending on who is at the consumer end of that chain. So the AI is used to run analytics on that equipment by constantly gathering telemetry data, which can be massive in volumes, and processing that to predict the future failures that have not happened yet. So being able to predict what may go wrong with that equipment that's sitting at the power plant, and then proactively addressing those issues even before failure happens. For example, there is a chiller system in a battery storage, and if the temperatures are going high in that electrical system, we're constantly monitoring the temperature to ensure that the chiller never fails, and which will then eventually cause failure in the battery storage system. So as we see those temperatures rising up, there are proactive measures that are taken to address that, making sure that the chiller doesn't go down and hence the battery power does not go down and the power is continuously fed to the grid and the consumers don't get impacted. So in that equation of power generation, power storage, to power transmission and power distribution to the consumers, there is so much of AI that is used across that chain to ensure that we continuously keep that flow going from one end to the other. There is a lot that needs to be done. There is absolutely no standardization in data in this industry. So regulators can play a massive role, not just around the security of that data, but also how can we bring in standardization? So if I take equipment manufacturers between Siemens, GE, Tesla, Now, or Sungrow or us, the metadata is so different. And when you look at from customers' perspective that may be purchasing equipment from all these companies, and each one of them have their data models, and each one of them are running their AI. Imagine the world where all of this is standardized. There is a standard metadata definition that's regulated through regulatory companies that are also working on regulations around data security. If they worked on regulations around data standardization, the world would be so much simpler in the critical energy infrastructure sector. So that's how Fluent sees AI for strategy.
Wow. But now, three of you have talked about data. I'll ask Geeta to answer the question. Data problem is never going to be solved. Should we wait? How much should we wait? When can we start with AI? If your data is all messed up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just listening to all, like, I think whatever each of you talked can be applied to any company, right? But before I could talk the data question, I would say when we talk about AI first, we say AI first and human always. So that's the approach we take. So talking about data, in my humble opinion, I think Kashyap said it very nicely in the, when he kicked off, right? Data is never going to be 100% ready. So my approach always, I would say, is always, take the driver, like whatever the use cases people are asking for. Can I use that use case as a way to figure out how do you take a slice of the problem and go all the way and get your data cleaned and governed within that? Because if you wait forever, the next problem will come, right? So to me, the data problem is never going to be 100% unless you are in a static business. So what can we do? And especially as my architect role, right? How do we start building those? What are the foundation muscles we need? So, talking about whether it is the metadata layer, whether it is the data architecture, which has moved from age-old, data warehousing to data lake, to data mesh, to data fabric, and what's the, buzzword of the town, and how do you start building that? And this is the conversation I have with my data architect and my data governance, that you are never going to be able to get everything clean. But as long as, so what do you need to do? So you build that. Observability is very critical. You talked about being able to observe and predict and prevent, right? So build your observability. So that's what I would say. Keep building those ingrained. And as you are checking on your use case, whether it is customer facing, whether it is, your backend processes, start identifying what are the core entities that you must clear, understanding the system of like traditional, data governance technologies and methodology still applies, but apply with the use case. So that's how I would approach. And I think one of the thing beauty again is now, I think I always like to ride the wave of if there is a demand. Everybody is excited about GenAI. You talk to your CFO, you talk to your CIO, you talk to CTO, you talk to CMO, everybody. Can we use that energy and the passion and the wave that is? Because there is more funding. I can guarantee you can ask anyone for AI projects than data projects. So you'll never get up probably funding. So I use the AI projects funding to figure out what I need to do. Kashyap again talk about technical debt. So, underline whatever you need, be very pragmatic about decomposing those. Do not wait. So the key is do not wait for data to be perfect, but have, what is, do you want to be, you don't want to be a headline for wrong reasons. So having your responsible policies, the ethics and everything embedded. And best thing is to be able to have observation so that you can see what's going in the pipe.
That's wonderful. I'm going to start all my AI projects tomorrow.
You need a chief architect? I'm available. not available. And one thing I want to put a disclaimer, just because we are a very regulated industry. Whatever I'm saying is my opinion. It is not my company's opinion.
Likewise.
Fair. Okay, I'm going to go back to you, Geeta. Like this famous phrase, I don't know if you've heard, all great ideas die on the beaches of IT. Where does AI live in your organization? Where is the natural home for AI, the AI portfolio?
Okay. So
AI is everywhere, right? So I do not believe in anything centralized. So let's get that out. So center of excellence becomes a center of entanglement, and we can have a drink over that to talking about what I mean. So yes, so we do have our CDO, Chief Data and AI Officer. We do have a team that is focusing on looking into like the models and everything going forward, right? But AI, we are looking at democratizing, right? Federated, because it is the business that drives the value. It is not the technology. I mean, as much as we love the technology for technology, right? So the way we are doing is the use cases are across, whether it is back office or it is the products like retirement, asset, wealth, and that's what we do at TIA. We make products for retirement, asset management, wealth management. We manage about 1.3 to 1.4 trillion asset under management. So we have use cases. If you're a wealth manager, asset manager, use cases come. But then from me being the architect, like whether it is, I bring everything together. So architecture, governance with cyber, data, security, and all comes together with my purview so that we can make sure that we are not doing anything silly, stupid. But we do have experiment, and also environment wise, we have experimentation environment before you can try, where you can try out, hence before you unleash to production. So we have methodology for that, but it is not a central team.
Okay, that's reassuring because we don't have a central team outside us. It's across the board, and every function kind of owns little pieces of it. I'll go to Madhuri. So, what are some tips and tricks you'd give to the audience of convincing people that AI is the way to go forward, and we have to invest in this?
Well, I think a lot of the people in the audience are AI experts themselves. So AI is the way to go. Is just, there is no question about it. It can be used in multiple places, and I'm sure you all have ideas around that. I think it's critical to identify the value creation through AI and make sure that's prioritized, right? Because AI can be used in so many different ways today. And if you don't have that prioritization done through value creation, then it can be all over the place. Second thing I would also mention is link that back to your own corporate KPIs. Where is your organization heading? What are the priorities for your organization? Is it competitiveness? Is it speed? Is it creating value for the customer? Is it all of this? Is it reduction of cost where internal efficiencies come into play? It's always a mixture of all of this, but the priority within some of these KPIs that I mentioned for every organization changes. So identify use cases and value creation, tie that back to your corporate KPIs, and always keep customer in mind. At the end of the day, if customer is happy, your corporate KPIs are going to be happy. AI technologies are changing so fast as well. Skill gap is continuously going to exist. So ensure your employees have opportunities to learn and learn fast. Always, building is not a solution. Consider build versus buy very carefully, depending on what speed you're looking for, what scalability you're looking for. And the most important aspect that I would also like to highlight is keep an eye on the decision makers within the organization. Not every decision maker himself or herself knows what AI is all about. And if they themselves don't have the knowledge, or the technical know-how, there may be wrong decisions that would be taken. So whoever is the champion within the organization, I would say create champions within the organization who really know AI, who really know how to strategize around AI or data quality or in general, the value creation, and bring them all together to support the decision makers to make them understand what value AI can generate. And I think that's also a very critical aspect of succeeding in AI journey for any organization, because decision makers are busy doing their day-to-day job and they need not have to be AI masters or knowing the technical know-how of AI. And also create positive examples around success stories, even if it is a little success story. Have those AI champions talk about it and say, hey, this is where AI has generated value for us and this is what we could do next. So I think that organized structure and strategy around how an organization can benefit from AI and how customers can benefit from AI is very critical for the success.
Thank you. Looking at the clock, I'm going to move to rapid fire questions. One question each, quick answer, and we'll wrap this up. I'll start with Leslie. One word or phrase that describes the future of AI in the enterprise.
Transformational, I mean, no other word.
Amazing. Yeah, 100% agree.
I missed the sentence.
One word for
I have a different question for you.
I didn't get to cheat.
What's the biggest misconception of AI first strategies about AI first strategies right now?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, AI just means many things to many people, but frankly, literally everything you and I can do, AI should attempt to absolutely solve that. Why is it called artificial intelligence if it can't go down the path of natural intelligence?
Fair. The expectations with AI went from it's responding in 5 seconds to 2 seconds to why isn't it responding right now? So I 100% agree with you.
It's not only a question of speed. It's absolutely, because I don't think we are built for speed. So complexity probably is the best problem to go after. I say go after the most impossible problems. Fair.
To you, AI in 2030, empowering or replacing humans? Yes. Empowering? Okay. And the last question to Madhuri. One personal habit or app you've developed because of AI?
One.
ChatGPT doesn't count.
Yeah.
One personal habit or app.
Personal habit or app. There is this new app called Sword app that does physical therapy. And you don't need a human anymore. It is, you are in front of a camera. It detects your movements and it's correcting your posture for all the physical therapy exercises. I have started using it a month ago and it's phenomenal.
So bonus question for you since you mentioned that.
Yeah.
AI in 2030, empowering or replacing humans?
Empowering. AI cannot replace problems in energy industry as of today. There is no such thing as autonomous grid. The physical particles still need to transmit from energy source to the consumer, and that AI cannot solve.
Okay.
You might be surprised.
You never know. If energy can float in the air without grids being there, yeah, maybe.
Actually, could I quickly?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
Go for it.
absolutely AI empowering. And a huge part of this is we use coding copilots a lot, which I mentioned, but we have a hard and fast rule within Nokia that you cannot use any computer generated code in our patent filings or in our external products, because then OpenAI could possibly claim that it's their product. And so our coders know that even though they can work with a copilot for inspiration and stuff, they know that their jobs are secure.
That's wonderful.
So they always will be empowered and never replaced. Yeah.
Well, this has been a fascinating discussion. Thank you all for being on stage and entertaining this valuable conversation. And thanks to this audience for coming in and listening to us.